Yahweh's torahful Hebrew. My name is Deborah. Hallelujah. This is a very casual live presentation. This is not a intentional lesson. If you read the title, this more so will be me just expressing my my life. So I'm just letting you all know to just bear with me and be patient with me, because this is a very vulnerable topic to be so open about sharing my life. So the earliest moments that I know about is me getting beat up. I was about 3 or 4 years old, and I'm at a Christian daycare, I believe, and there were like at least 2 or 3 young men, probably no more than 1, 2, 3 years older than me, maybe older, and I believe that I got beaten up. And other memories that I remember as a adolescent is I dreamed a lot. I have dreams that I don't necessarily want to share, but I do remember some intimate dreams that I had. As a young child, my parents were divorced, and my father had custody of me and my siblings, every other week and so forth. Bless his soul. And sometimes I remember being sneaky and watching pornography. And specifically, I watched lesbian pornography. I also remember myself looking at Playboy magazines, which Playboy, back in my day, in the time I'm referring to, it was about, not about, but it had naked pictures of females and so forth. So, another memory I remember having is having a family friend be very frisky with me. I recall being over a loved one's house, and that person, a family friend, or I choose not to share who that person is due to privacy reasons, but I do recall that person being very frisky, and that person was a female. I had crushes, growing up as a child. I remember my first crush being in pre-K. I remember his name and everything. And I had a few crushes in elementary school, but I never dated. I never considered having the title of a boyfriend until I was maybe 14, like 8th grade, 9th grade. Definitely not 9th grade, 8th grade or 10th grade, but I was playing that as I just naturally move along this. So just my experience as far as sex is involved was that I was curious because of my environment, the environment that I was in, whether it was music that I was listening to, music videos, in my opinion, propaganda, making things normalized with sexuality, things that probably should have been private and so forth, was on public TV, and again, music videos, radio stations, you name it. I didn't become sexually active until I was 15. So I had my first kiss summer of my 8th grade graduation. 9th grade, I moved to another state, and I chose, not chose, but I was very depressed at this place. I'm from Baltimore City, so if you are familiar with that, the area, and me going to a suburban place where there is, when I went to school, it was, I can count on my hand how many black people, African Americans there were. and Africans. And I didn't like it, so I came back. By the time in 10th grade, when I came back to Baltimore, I became sexually active. And I not only was I sexually active, I began abusing alcohol. So I was abusing alcohol starting at 15 up until very I would just say I abused alcohol for a long time, beginning at 15. So bear with me again. This is a live presentation, and I do feel led to just share this, not only to free myself, but for others who have ears to hear and eyes to see. This may be for you, and this may be for somebody else, and just be patient with me again. I grew up as a Baptist. My mother was a reverend. My father never openly shared his spiritual walk, but I do believe he was an atheist or into Scientology. I'm not 100% sure, but I do know that my father did follow this YouTube channel, and it made me feel better to know that before he passed away, he at least got to know Yahweh a little bit. So praise Yah for that. Again, I grew up as a Baptist, and when I moved back to Baltimore when I was a teenager at 15, I was agnostic. So if you are familiar, if you are familiar or not familiar with that is, being agnostic is someone who believes in a higher power but does not necessarily commit to a faith, a religion, and so forth. I try not to use the word religion when it comes to being a set-apart Israelite because of the etymology of the word religion. It pretty much means bondage. And Yahweh's torahful Hebrew, literally, not this YouTube channel, but literally Yahweh's torahful Hebrew is not bondage. So, okay. Grew up as a Baptist, 15, was agnostic. I only prayed to the God of my understanding, which was Christianity. When I was scared back as a teenager, as a young adult. And during this time, I'll just say before I became a set-apart Israelite following the Mashiach, as far as religion and so forth, that wasn't necessarily a route, a path that I chose to walk in. I was very promiscuous. Again, party animal. And my first encounter with a female was in high school. Maybe I guess my senior year. I can't tell you the time and date and so forth, but more than likely it was my my senior year and so forth. And I just want to normalize spiritual wellness and speaking on whether it's trauma, our family history, lifestyle, our culture. So when it comes to our culture, my culture is an American westernized culture growing up. I grew up watching promiscuous videos. I grew up listening to sexual songs and TV shows I probably shouldn't have been watching. Okay. People who raised me did the best they could. So I took accountability of me for the most part. even if I was underage and had no business doing certain stuff. The people who raised me, I believe, did the best they could. So I say that unknowingly, but now I say that for people who may have a challenging time to honor their father, their mother, and or whomever raised them, because that is one of the commandments of Yahweh. He doesn't say how to do it. He just says to honor your father and your mother. So try your best to at least be thankful that you're here because of them. And I know that there are different circumstances why people are here, whether that may be you are conceived from rapes and so forth. I can't act like I'm the person to say that I have the answers to comfort you in that, but I will share my personal development and my spiritual walk for maybe some relief for you. Um, so, please give me a moment. Hallelujah. I'm just trying to gather my thoughts. This is very impromptu. I engaged, I had sexual encounter with a female probably in high school. And as a young adult, I continued that lifestyle. I was very content in my lifestyle. I lived with a family member and I was very content in just how I moved about. Maybe because, yes. Okay. Okay. So, excuse me, I'm trying to gather my thoughts again. Hallelujah. Yeah, so I was very content in my lifestyle probably because, I didn't graduate high school with a trade that I wanted to. I went to a type of high school that you could get a trade certification, so I was very resentful. Um, Very resentful, and I tried to go back to community college. I think like a year after I went to high school, but I couldn't get with it. I don't know what it was. I just had a challenging time to stick with it. So, that led me to be very content with the life I was living. I was living under a family member's roof, and I would sporadically have jobs. I never really committed to jobs, but trust and believe if I needed money, I would have it some sort of way. And whether that was calling my father, whether it was just getting the job, or I would just, getting it from somebody. It was usually just asking family or, yeah, just getting another job. So I was very inconsistent with that. Like around 24, 25, I'm in my 30s now. And when I was like about 24, 25, I became more prone to date females a little bit more seriously. When I was a teenager and, a younger adult, not in my mid-20s, but in my early 20s, it wasn't necessarily dating. I was being promiscuous and fornicating. Again, in my mid-20s, I know for a fact seriously, quote unquote, I'll do the air quote, seriously dated two separate females. These females I'm not necessarily hip to the terminology now, but back when I was dating people like that, they were called doms, like a dominant female, so forth. And the truth be told, those were the only physical abusive relationships that I was in. I used to work at a worldwide known company, and I decided to befriend a gay male. He also was in a very abusive relationship as well. Very abusive relationship. And I'm just speaking naturally, so please forgive me if I'm being long-winded or repeat things, but I just want things to go naturally. And I believe from my standpoint that a lot of people that I've experienced in my life, including myself, a lot of us became in the LGBTQA lifestyle because of trauma, because of abuse, because of possibly rape, pedophilia. I became in that lifestyle because of of pornography. I became in that lifestyle due to the culture that I grasped onto, the sexual music, the sexuality I saw on TV, the music videos, and so forth. I grabbed hold to that, and I didn't know Yahweh. I chose not to. I chose to become agnostic. I didn't go to church anymore. When I came back to Baltimore at 15, did not go back to church anymore. But again, as I said a moment ago, I prayed when I was scared. So I knew who Yahweh was. I just knew him from more of a Christianity standpoint, not necessarily a Hebraic standpoint. Hallelujah. It's time to get free. This is a very get free video. At the age of 25, I decided to walk with Yahweh, and I don't know, I'll be very honest and open, as you know I've been doing so far. I don't know if it was a good thing or a bad thing for me to, oh, okay, maybe now that I'm about to say it like this, the way that I left relations with people, family, friends, and so forth, the way that I left was not acceptable. I did not have the courage to tell people, I'm leaving the lifestyle that I used to live. I used to be alcoholic. I was a party animal. I was bisexual. I was fornicating. I didn't have the courage to tell people that I was changing. I was changing my lifestyle for a 180. When I left that previous lifestyle that I just currently mentioned, I threw away 99% of my clothes. And I'm going to be funny because now it's like, dang, like, you threw away. Me living in Baltimore again, like, I'm in and out of my hometown. Like, me living in Baltimore again, I'm like, dang, I had some cute little, outerwear jackets and stuff. Like, girl, but at the time, it was so deep with me that I felt like if I kept my clothes, that lifestyle would have been attached to me. Still, I would have still been addicted to that lifestyle. People don't talk about this type of addiction. I would have been addicted to that lifestyle. So I got rid of all my stuff. And I didn't do that in the right way because the way that I let this stuff go, I wasn't aware of who grabbed what. And let's normalize spiritual wellness. Let's normalize spirituality. Let's normalize it. Let's normalize the good and the bad, the good spirits and the bad spirits. Those bad spirits that were attached to those clothes, I don't know who got what. But I can tell you, when I got out of Yahweh's, Yahshua's rock, when I said peekaboo and looked at the world a little bit, I said, ooh, These are like little demons that I had, that I was being tortured with, and I didn't know I was being tortured with because I was comfortable and content with the lifestyle. Monkey see, monkey do. People see things in style, they think it's cute, they think it's fashionable, they're gonna put it on, not even knowing the spirit that may be attached to it. I ain't lying. So I let go of my stuff, moved to a new state, and I really went incognito. I went incognito. And again, unfortunately, I did not have the courage to properly dismiss myself from people, because just thinking back from then until up until literally now, had I had the courage to really express the journey that I was going on, the people who were meant to be in my life still would be in my life. Had I just had the courage to share that. Because love overpowers everything. That's who Yahweh is first. Love. He's an almighty one, eternal one of love. Don't get it twisted. He's an almighty one of righteous justice. Where do you think all this stuff is coming from? Like, it's when we aren't following and adhering to his blueprint. Deuteronomy 28, check up on it. You either blessed or you cursed. Even though Yahshua the Mashiach, re-emphasize the Torah, what people call the Old Testament, it's not done away with. If you love me, keep my commandments. Megan will be warned against those who are keeping the commandments. This is found in Revelation. But look at my community post. I have a few scriptures about the Torah not being done away with. So, my new journey as an Israelite back in 2018, it'll be 7 years for me. And like I always say around one of my family members' birthday, I hope this individual seeks Yah before their deathbed. But I like to think that I walked away from my past lifestyle, became an Israelite during this person's birthday, and I really hold this person dear to my heart. I really do. So I became an Israelite. It'll be almost 7 years in December for me. And whoop whoop. I was very strict, rigorous, focused for Yahweh. Like, it was very easy for me at the time to give up my previous lifestyle, because before I walked into the faith system of Yahweh, I was depressed. I could barely drink anymore. Like, when I used to drink, like, I didn't even want to put that taste out of my mouth. He put the taste out of my mouth. I would be sick almost immediately. I smoked for a very short amount of time. I smoked marijuana for a very short amount of time. And when I did, I hated it. I hated it. Let's talk about what people call paranoia. Let's talk about a child of Yahweh. Let's talk about the spiritual realm. Let's talk about the things that you witness with your own eyes when you are a little too up there, a little too not grounded. When I was not grounded, and when I smoked marijuana before I was Israelite, when I say that how you see me right now is the same, but I'm not gonna say I can't. The best way I can explain it is that people's personalities, these demons, this demonic energy, this demonic aura, these negative auras, whatever terminology you want to use, came out. I could sense it. It made me so fearful. And y'all have mercy on me now, because I did pick up marijuana one time when I was an Israelite, very early on my walk, and I regretted it instantly. Me personally, it only took me one puff for me, for the veil to come off, and the spiritual realm right in front of me. Like I said, same how you see me right now, be the same. But the aura, the demonic vibes, the energy, the aura, you could feel it. You could feel it. I could feel it. I could sense it. I was very aware of it. People spoke to me, their body language, their facial expressions, their actions. So when I was, again, when I chose to become an Israelite, again, I was depressed, suicidal, had just recently lost my highest paying job at that time. That made me even more depressed. That year is so funny. Like, one of my favorite holidays I used to like celebrating was my birthday and the New Year, the Gregorian calendar, not the Hebraic year, but the Gregorian calendar in January 1st. I struggled with self-idolatry. I struggled with this pride, like so many other people have. I just knew I was the sugar honey iced tea. I ain't lying. Get free. Get free. Whoever listened to it, get free. That year, I went from hanging out, going out of town with my once male gay best friend. We went out of town looking fly. We was cute. Couldn't tell us nothing. Matching. I went from all the way up here, social media, everybody, not everybody, hundreds and hundreds of likes. That's dopamine, instant gratification. Oh, I took that seriously. I took it personal. Get free. Because Israelites, we struggle with that too. Just because we may be set apart and choose a new lifestyle does not mean that we don't struggle with things that we used to struggle with. Get free. Get free. You know how they say, what is it called? I forgot the saying. And a dog, I might have to look it up, but pretty much same tricks. Old dog, no new tricks. Same demons, no new tricks. I'm set apart almost 7 years later. Same demons, no new tricks. Who am I speaking to? Free yourself. I went through so much, go through so much, not to discredit nobody else, but they go through, that I try my best to be strong. My favorite scripture is Joshua chapter 1, verses 7 through 9. Be strong and courageous. Study the Torah day and night. You will be successful. That's the key to success. Study the Torah day and night. That's what he said. He also says, do not be afraid. I learned from Instagram from I believe it was a Christian channel coming off my algorithm. And they said the most quoted thing in scripture is do not be afraid, other than his true name. And if you follow Yahweh's torahful Hebrew, you know I love to talk about that. But I'm not gonna get on that. But the number one phrase in scriptures is do not be afraid. Well, 2018, from that new year, at my hearty, prideful life. I remember my birthday. My birthday's in July, and that's when the roller coaster went down. Hallelujah. That's when the roller coaster went down. I got extremely humbled. And it made me not want to celebrate my birthday anymore. I was so disappointed that my plans didn't go the way I wanted them to go. I spent X amount of money on an outfit. I was expecting to take pictures. I was expecting to do this. I was expecting to meet this person, yada, 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 yada. And things did not go as planned. I remember that night, I went from going out of town, driving into New York back to my house. I remember clearly when I came back in the house, lights off. I think I took my outfit off, probably still had my makeup on. I was hurt. And it doesn't discredit the things that went on from January to July, from New Year to my birthday, because it definitely was some punches Yahweh was throwing my way that I was very unaware about, at the time, not being spiritually awakened by him. But that right there, he knew how to get me. He knew how to get me. He knew how to get my attention. And he got me specifically on my birthday, a holiday that I idolized myself. Now, I'm going to say this very carefully. Where I am now in my spiritual walk, when it comes to birthdays, I will acknowledge the spiritual growth from that day to the following, from the previous year. I'm not the same person who needs to celebrate my birthday all month, because I definitely was, yeah. That's that is idolatry. Who are you? Why are you so important? Let's keep it real. But yeah, now I just, pray if I gotta fast, if I gotta, because that's a trigger. That's a trigger. And relapsing is not just drugs. Relapsing can be something that triggers you. That was a trigger. My birthday can be a trigger. Again, an old dog, no new tricks, same demons. So, I believe, okay, so I think that was a time. Okay, so I had lost my job, my highest paying job. I lost my job probably weeks, a month after my birthday. So late August, I had lost my job due to me not opening up to a therapist enough, because I took a medical leave and admitted to my job at the time that I needed time away. I was very depressed. Every time they offered us free time to leave, we wouldn't get penalized. It wouldn't be considered like calling out. They would actually say that your services weren't needed, your work services. So I would take advantage almost every time. And finally, I took medical leave, and unfortunately, was not able to fight for my job, because apparently wasn't open enough to speak to that therapist at the time. So it is what it is. That was 2018. But again, Yahweh just kept humbling me. He's humbling me. So being humbled that way, now I, don't got money in my pockets again. I'm used to getting my hair done, my hair styled every few weeks. Anybody that knew me back in the day, you ain't see this. You ain't see this. Like, I knew I had, long hair, but back in the day, it was either perms or weaves. Perms, weaves, and braids. And the urban lifestyle, urban community wasn't necessarily, you wouldn't really see the afros and the curly, coily, kinky hair. Didn't know I had this type of hair till I was, until I was 25. So yeah, I lost my funds, lost my money. Couldn't get my alcohol, couldn't really get really, like I said earlier, I really didn't smoke marijuana for a very short amount of time. Like, I don't even think it was a year worth of me smoking, and it wasn't on an everyday basis either. But even if I wanted to, I couldn't. Didn't have the money for it. Was very depressed. I just got out of an abusive relationship with a female. She wasn't the worst one, actually. I actually had one actually was worse than her. And it's sad because that person was, if I was like, the female probably was like, if I was 23, 24, the girl was like 19. And it's sad when I think about it, because she really was going through spiritual warfare and really went through so much trauma in her life that it made her who she was at that time. So I just got out of a relationship, just lost my job, had the worst birthday ever. Like, I can tell you, even though I don't celebrate my birthdays the way I used to, I will still say to this day, that was my worst birthday I celebrated. And that was Yahweh humbling me. He was getting me out the lifestyle, because little did I know, had things went as planned with my birthday plans, I would have met people I didn't need to meet. I would have met celebrities I didn't need to meet. I would have went in a lifestyle I didn't need to be in. Because it would have been so hard, challenging, I'm sure, to turn away from the riches and the glamour and be like, oh, wow, leave that for that. Yahweh knows us. He created us. So he already knew, let me get her right now before things turn into she's never going to come to me. She is my child. So let me get her now. Let me just humble her now. Let me punish her now. Let me get her out of this nonsense now before she never comes to me. Because she's going to think she don't need me. I didn't know that at the time. And spirituality, faith, religion was not on my mind when I was getting humbled and depressed. So in December 2018, my mother who was already who chose to be a set apart Israelite at the time, following the Torah and the Mashiach Yahshua. Bless her heart, because she witnessed a very short time my lifestyle. And I thank her for being used by Yahweh to have something that so many people don't have. Patience and understanding. We are so quick to judge. We are so quick to point the finger, but we don't understand why somebody is living the way they are living. This is what Yahshua was talking about in the renewed covenant. When those Pharisees and Sadducees and religious people went up to him to challenge him, what they were following were man-made traditions. They were overextending the Torah. They were overextending, overexalting the rules. I don't really keep up with Judaism right as of now, but when I used to be under the yoke of my former teacher who has passed away, bless his soul, he used to share that their words, there are certain sects and denomination, SECT, as of religious Jews who, for instance, right now, they might not tie their shoe. They might not open the refrigerator. They might not do certain things. They might not flicker the light. They may not write because it's considered work. So these are the patterns that Yahshua was talking about. It's nothing new under the sun. The same thing that was going on back then in biblical, torahful times is the same thing that's going on now. Religion, the Bible, the Torah is not just a religious book. It's history. It's history. And if you really read it from a historic standpoint, you will really learn a lot and realize what's been going on. For instance, the book of Maccabees, Hanukkah, it's not necessarily a remembrance of a miracle of the lights, of the menorah, the candle lights. It's more so the revolution, the war that happened when the Israelites said, we are not following your ways. We are not going to follow these pagan gods. We're not going to be eating pork and shrimp. They were literally shoving food in their mouth because they knew Israelites' lifestyle and culture. Hanukkah is not just about lights and a miracle. Let's talk about my life from becoming an Israelite till right now. So what I just talked about was my lifestyle, vaguely talking about my life before I became a set apart Israelite, following the ways of Yahshua the Mashiach, and also following the Torah. I'm not in Christianity. I'm not in Judaism. I follow what Paul followed, and his disciples Yahshua followed. Okay, so praise Yah. I didn't mean to say it like that, but felt the need to clarify that for some reason. So very early on, I did as when I became in the spiritual journey. If you had listened to the very beginning of this video, I did express that I chose unwisely let go of people without acknowledging my spiritual walk, because who knows where people may or may not have been had I been courageous enough to express that. It is what it is. The people that I knew back then is the people I know now. Whether it's acquaintanceship, family, stuff like that, old friends, I still know them. So it's not too late. I just don't shove things down people's throat, and I choose to follow the path that Yahshua allowed my mother to express to me when she was an Israelite. She just watched, she observed, She knew everything I was doing, every act I was doing. I had the audacity to do certain things in front of her or around her presence. Not necessarily in front of her, but around the presence. She knew what I was doing. I was hot in the butt. Off the chain. So it is my duty, I feel like, to almost always emphasize how us as Israelites, how we communicate and try to reach people. Yahshua said, go into all the nations, do the harvest work. But we don't do the harvest work. We don't go into the nations and be jabbing at people, being irritating, being pesky. It's a way of doing things. It's a way of saying things. It's your body language. It's your facial expressions. It's a way of doing things. Am I still working on that? Absolutely. I am absolutely still working on that. It just sucks because so many people who are afraid to tap into their spiritual wellness don't do it because there are so many pointing the fingers at people that these people who are pointing the fingers forget to take a look at themselves, and they forget that they can't cast the first stone either. We can righteously judge, we can righteously give advice, but then there's a problem when people are being hypocritical. People are hiding their lifestyle and acting like they are the holiest saint on earth. It's okay to righteously judge, but just make sure that you are being mindful of how you're doing and how you're saying it, and just being slow to speak and thinking about you. Put yourself in their shoes. So I'm not necessarily going to talk about the good of me being an Israelite, because the point of this title is to just express the not so good, in my opinion. So for a few years, well, during my time as an Israelite, get free, get free, get free. During my time as an Israelite, in the early stages, very easy to give up a lot. I gave up my wardrobe, 99% of it. I barely ate meat anymore. I definitely, I knew about the dietary laws early on, so I stopped eating pork. I stopped eating shellfish. I stopped eating catfish because that doesn't, it doesn't fit the requirements for a fish. For kosher fish, it needs to be fins and scales, and catfish does not. So, very pious, fast. I fast like, I don't want to use the word crazy, but I fast like it was nobody's business. Like, it was very easy. I loved it. Like, I loved it so much because I knew the results that I would get with fasting. If you don't know by now, if you are into your spiritualness with Yahweh, I'm not speaking of no other religious source. I'm not talking about witchcraft, warlockism. I'm not talking about any other religion. If you are tapped in with Yahweh through His Son Yahshua and the set apart spirit, following the Torah mitzvot, following the feast days, and keeping the Shabbat, the Ten Commandments, and so forth. If you fast, He's going to reveal some things to you, whether it's through dreams. It may not be what you want, but it can be some things you might need to know. With the spiritual realm, you might need to know some things. He might give you a dream that you struggling with in your waking life, and there would be signs that you're familiar with that only you would know. I used to love to fast. Yeah, I said you. But I'm getting back to that. I wasn't listening to my one and only teacher that I was committed to. I knew about him, but at the time, I did not like how he came off. Maybe I was very sensitive. It could have been that. It could have been a sense of just his personality, a sense of arrogance, haughtiness that I felt like was kind of on him at the time. Or it could have just been me being sensitive to him calling stuff out. He never necessarily yelled. Nothing like that. Maybe it just hit home. I don't know. So I didn't watch him. So at the time, early on as an Israelite, I was still watching, listening to Christian teachers, and just searching the Israelite community on YouTube. So that was 2018 to like 2020, I guess. Yeah, because 2018, when I say that, that was literally the end of 2018. That was December 2018 to like August 2020. That's when I moved back to my hometown in August 2020. Get free, get free, get free. So when I moved back to my hometown August 2020, how can I express that? Trying to express it in a way where I'm not exploiting anyone's business, exposing anyone, which so I'm trying to speak freely but be mindful at the same time. So so I'll say it like this. Me and a loved one who is in this faith system of Yahweh, we agreed to disagree with certain lifestyle behaviors that I felt like didn't necessarily align with Yahweh's. And at the time, I had a previous YouTube channel. I had a previous YouTube channel. I can't tell you what that name was, but I had a nice little following on there. And I eventually talked about loved ones and witchcraft and so forth. And I publicly shared it, so it publicly got back to the hands of family members, and I had a very heated argument with the loved one who was a part of the faith system of Yahweh, and I left. I left that home. I left that house. I was so rooted in my beliefs at that time that I was willing to not be a part of what I felt like would have hindered me, as well as contentness from the other party. I don't think I necessarily did. I was okay. To speak freely and just move naturally, just to not be long-winded. Eventually, when I left, I lived with the Israelite and his loved ones. They were all Israelites in their household. And a few months later, I made amends to my family member, and we lived together again. So the title is speaking about celibacy, and I never mentioned that yet. Breaking celibacy. I'm getting there, y'all. I just need to move naturally and get free and speak on it. And I've been attracted and dated. When I say dated, I just got to know Israelite men during my time from 2018, before I broke my celibacy. I was celibate for 6 years. So before I was even an Israelite, um, I was so from like spring 2018 up into like summer of last year. I gotta get free and say that. So interesting that I just listened to an Instagram reel. This Christian lady. If I knew her name, I would show her out. But Yahweh made sure that I listened to it, and she talked about laziness, and she used David as an example. And I mentioned this account of David various times, and she just pretty much reiterated what I said. Unknowingly, of course, it's, if you know, okay, so David and Bathsheba, or Bathsheba. David fell at one point in time. This is where not all, but a lot of his book of chapters of songs coming at. He was pouring his heart out to Yahweh. He was guilty. It was poetry. It was a journal. It's how he expressed himself. It's beautiful. Nothing new under the sun. We do it now. Picture that. A man with a journal. I mean, that's no different from rappers nowadays. Rap is poetry, expressing yourself. Most of the time when people are expressing themselves in the rap culture or any music culture, just usually just expressing yourself. You may not have a therapist, you're just talking about it, you rapping about it, you singing about it. That's what David did. Poet, a singer, musician. So during the time when he got very comfortable at one point in his life, and I think we all can relate to that we may start off very pious, very dedicated to something, whatever that thing is, and we get so comfortable, whether it's comfortable, contentness, laziness, I don't know. But speaking of David and his account at Bathsheba, he got comfortable when he should have been out at war. This man had this big toe on the air. He had his toe on the air. He probably getting grapes fed to him. Like he was living a life. He was, I don't know, I guess he was taking a fake sick leave from that war because, and I say that because it's not like he was taking a break, because we all need a break. It's times and seasons for everything. I say that he was taking a quote unquote fake sick leave because of the actions of the results of this account of him and Bathsheba. Had he been at war, he would not have committed adultery. He would not have committed killing a special friend of his. He wouldn't have did it. Then they lost a child. It's nothing new under the sun. Like, do you think stuff that goes on now didn't happen back then? People committed adultery back then, and Yahweh has a way of doing things, and that baby was lost. It wasn't. People don't realize the science behind sex sometimes. Like, it's not just us free will, and please excuse my language for how I'm about to say it, but it's not just about us humping each other. Like, there's an order to things. Animals follow it. And we are one of the only few species on earth who have that free will to have sexual intimacy without it being on like a season thing like other animals. Like, they only have sex during certain times. So here's David fornicating, committing adultery. And I use that example because that was me. So I've had, I casually talked, got to know Israelite men within the faith system of Yah. Didn't work out. It is what it is. So from 2018, December 2018 to up until a little before summer of last year, 2024, I was starting to crack, y'all. And when I say crack, like in a sense, like the lifestyle I used to live before I was Israelite, it was no problem with me getting who I wanted and what I wanted. Did that make me stupid? Stupid in the sense where I didn't love myself enough to protect my body. Now what I'm about to say next is very sensitive and a very controversial topic. But here I go. Abortion. Nowadays, a lot of people who speak on pro-life and it's my body, I get that. It is. It literally is. But what I don't hear from those people who say those type of things. Mind you, I had an abortion myself, so I'm not just saying it to judge and point the finger at somebody like I'm holier than thou because I had one before. So I'm gonna keep it 100 and I'm gonna share why I say what I'm about to say. These people who say it's my body, is free will, do y'all have the courage to just say, you know what, I just wanted to open my legs for a night. I just wanted to open my legs for a few minutes. I just want to bend over real quick. I was horny. What y'all do now? Just keep it real. People don't snap no more. I'm not doing this now. I guess that's the new poetic thing. Keep it real, get free. I was once that person. Yes. Like, I peep that. But I don't say it to people because unless Yahweh gives me the green light to say something like that to people when I'm face to face with these people, I don't say it. Because, yeah, it's your body. Yeah, you do what you want. But there's a biology to sex. There's a biology. And if a man semen comes to a woman, you're going to get pregnant. And that's what people don't really want to talk about because people just want to get a quick nut. People want to have one night stand, want to have fun, want to do this, want to do that. Okay, I was that person too. But I don't think these people who talk about pro-life, no, the pro-body or whatever it is, I don't know. Don't get me lying. These people who talk about, just it's my body. Do you have the courage to just say you just want to have sex? You know the repercussions of having sex without a condom. I was that person that had abortion too, so I'm not just saying it to make nobody feel bad. Trust me, I'm not. So back to what I was saying. Single and mingling for about almost 6 years. I was getting tired of that, y'all. I was getting tired of that. But let me keep 100 and speak about the dark side of one of the recent people that I talked to is an Israelite. He still following me too. I just looked at my subscription earlier. He still follows me. Bless his heart. I pray the best for him. Hallelujah. Please give me a moment because we're not about to start that. Please give me a moment, y'all. Okay. So, trying to think what year. This is 2025. I was verbally proposed to. It wasn't a traditional type of proposal engagement from a man. It was verbal. We went a long distance relation, trying to get to know one another. You know, this was an Israelite man. Get free, get free, get free. So during this particular Israelite that I was getting to know, this is not to bash him or talk about bad about him, but I'll just say, long story short, with him, it didn't. Two reasons I know why it didn't work. One was because something I was hiding in my heart, and another one I didn't feel from. I didn't feel like we were equally yoked as far as like our spiritual walk and so forth. So that was the reality of that. But something that I hid in my heart was before I even started talking to him, I believe these old demons, these sexual, immoral demons, fornication, and so forth, they came about when I started working again. Working in the world again. And I started getting big-headed. Mind you, I remember how I walked into work. This was my second job, actually. The first job, I actually wasn't big-headed at all. I actually was, I was just a radical. I'm not as soft-spoken. I wasn't a soft-spoken Israelite. I was definitely radical Israelite. And I had the privilege to work with, like, just clients. And, I would interfere with their personal life as far as, like, trying to speak spiritual awareness to them, which I did it in an uncalled way. In the sense was it was just too pesky. It wasn't like I'm stalking them and you know, throwing stuff at the door type stuff. It wasn't nothing wonky, nothing weird like that. But like just being very vocal of who I was, and it made people uncomfortable that I let my personal life interfere with my work life. Even though I felt like they needed to know about Yahweh, it's a time and place for everything. And I did not have that wisdom in me yet to realize that. So by the time I had the second job, I'm working back in retail customer service. So I'm back around people like big time. Back around people, co-workers, customers, stuff like that. Mind you, I walked into that job, skirts, head wraps, very much covered and stuff like that. And again, if you have been in tune with what I've talked about in my past, I was into self-idolatry a lot. So I started getting big-headed. Even though I was still covering up my head, covering up my hair, didn't have the latest hairstyles no more, not dressing trendy and, stuff like that. I would still get compliments and, and these are from people who were not in the faith system of Yah. So you can imagine, if you just heard everything that I've been saying up until right now, be gentle with me, because growing up in the lifestyle that I lived, and I never even expressed the lifestyle I had with my parents, other than saying that they were divorced and he had custody over me and my siblings every other week. So you can imagine that relationship was not 100% there, because I'm not under both of them under the same time. That's just how I look at things now. Personally, I personally believe there should be a father and a mother, healthy relationship with the father and mother in the household to raise children. So just imagine listening to my story, listening to my account, going from promiscuity, bisexuality, depression, to even celibacy. And now here I am working somewhere, you know, um, getting compliments from men who don't share the same faith. I'm getting a little big headed. I'm like, hmm, hmm, hmm. I ain't lying. Please forgive me. I've had the window cracked just a little bit. I pray that music goes away. So I didn't let that get to me as much. But let's just say if I'm attracted to somebody, I'm attracted to them. Don't gotta go nowhere. But once I started to get a little big headed, I felt like I could get this person. Now we speaking on celibacy, breaking celibacy for real. I felt like I can get this person. He was attractive. He was an attractive guy, and he be considered like a hot commodity at that job I had. In my opinion, like he used to get the looks and stares. Like he was a hot commodity, and I was one of them looking. I just so happened to work with him, so we just always play hard to get, flirt, keep it moving. It did not lead to anything other than flirting. But um August 2023, my father passed away. Mind you, I was working at that job that I'm referring to for probably like a year at that point. Year and a half. I forgot. I don't know. I don't know. No, it was only a few. I don't. That's not important. So my father passed away in August 2023, and either right. I think it had to be after my father died. Now I'm thinking about it. I had met the person who had proposed to me. I met him like via Instagram, via social media, like a few days afterwards. And I looked at that as a sign, as my father wanted me to be happy and don't stress about him too much. He's in a better place type stuff. So I looked at it as that's when I really started lowering my standards, because even though I was big headed at that job and stuff, it was no more than flirting with people, because I knew at the end of the day my long-term values was always going to be the same when it came to Yahweh. So even if I did flirt, I knew things wasn't going to last with the people I flirted with. So um me and this individual getting to know one another, and when I don't want to say when I say lower my standards, even though he was an Israelite, I could tell based off his social media page that we had different beliefs, different standpoints. From the name we called higher power. As you may hear by now, I call on the name of Yahweh and Yahshua. He did not. So that was like not necessarily a red flag, but that was something like I'm kind of lowering my standards. Like, okay, I'll just talk to him. My father passed away. I don't want to stress about my father too much. that don't mean that I stopped liking that person at work. So it didn't help that the person that the Israelite that I was getting to know, I didn't feel like I felt like I just felt like I knew more than him. And when it gets to that point, I vowed to myself before I even met him. I vowed to myself and said, like, this is just my expectations, mine, not Yahweh's, but mine. That if I guess like to get married, I would desire, would want my ordained husband to know more than me, because otherwise I would feel like I'm teaching him, and that would make me feel like, I'm not gonna say that would make me feel like the head, but it just, I guess I wouldn't feel secure spiritually if I knew more than you spiritually. It'd just be like it would make me less attracted to you. But it's interesting. It's interesting because when I first became in this faith system, yeah, like the men that I was attracted to and wanted to get to know presently and currently, they don't call on the same names I call on. Some of them have different doctrines. So that's something for me to think about. Um, be more open, be more mindful, not be scared to communicate and get to know people. So again, I still like that individual I was working with. So between me and this Israelite just not necessarily bonding the way I wanted to, it just gave me an unauthorized motive to continue to just creeping and peeping, being like David and Bathsheba, looking, should be at war. You should be at war type stuff. But you creeping and peeping, you being a peeping Tom. And that's exactly what David was doing. He was being a peeping Tom. And that's what I was doing, creeping and peeping. Clock in, clock out, mind your business. You ain't on the roster no more. You ain't, yeah. But couldn't tell me that. Eventually we called off the engagement, and I still was working at the same place, so it didn't necessarily, by that time, this is months, maybe even a year later, like the person that I liked, it just never grew anywhere. So I was already kind of content. Not really, I wasn't really. But if somebody likes you and wants to further things with you, then they're going to approach you in the sense that you know for sure, you don't got to guess. So by the time I called off my engagement, I already knew this person wasn't serious with me. It just was a little instant gratification sort of thing. So this was like maybe winter, spring last year, I think. Because I lived in that state for 3 years. That's neither here or there, but that's just something for me to think about, because what I'm saying to y'all doesn't matter what's going on about my time spent there. I'm just trying to get my facts straight as I'm sharing this story of myself. And somebody new came to work, and I knew that he liked me, but I was so head over heels over the other guy. I'd be like, boy. Eventually we started talking to that person. this newcomer. And this is where I broke my celibacy at. 6 years, bro. And it's so interesting because I don't guilt trip myself about it, but it's just something, if I could go back in time, that would be one of it. That would be one of the things I would do. But I'm not perfect, and it's meant for me to share this story. So, like, I didn't even want to do it. Like, I was not pressing the issue. By the time it came down to the nitty gritty, it's almost, I'm not trying to make myself sound like I'm better than anybody, because I don't know the correct terminology I want to use, but it almost comes off if I was doing him a favor. Like, he liked me so much, I felt like I had to go back to my past type stuff. I had to please him. Here I am being a people pleaser, pleasing him. And the whole time in my head, I'm like, I could. I could, but I don't really want to, but I could. And I did. That was summer last year. Like weeks before my birthday. I may have did it because, I don't know, but I did lose my father, and I lost my spiritual teacher. And I always had a challenge with male figures in my life. So I wasn't necessarily taught to keep my legs closed, taught to make sure he take you out on dates, make sure he gets to know you type stuff. I wasn't really taught that. So I just wasn't taught that. Now my father treated me well. I remember him opening doors and, just being gentle when he was around me and stuff like that. But we never talked about sex, anything like that. Get free, get free, get free. So after that first account breaking my celibacy last year, it didn't stop. I did it again. And I also was assaulted. So one time it was consensual. I consented to it. This was with another man. The other time I was assaulted. This was this year, a few months ago. Why am I saying all this? Because if I say get free one time, but I'm going to keep yelling that. I'm not yelling it to the top of my lungs, but I'm going to keep saying that because I was so lonely, felt so abandoned from different angles. From last November up until this November, I have not had my name on a lease. I've been car homeless. I've lived in shelters, living in the program that doesn't necessarily align with the objective or the priority I had, the tension I had with coming. I need a shelter. So just the lifestyle from early on as an Israelite, being very pious, and just very strict with how I moved and so forth, and my lifestyle up until now. Things happen, life happens. I'm around a community of people who I've wanted to not be around, and I'm not just talking about where I am literally right now. I'm talking about my hometown. I did not ever want to come back here. I did not want to face my past. I was so afraid that if I go somewhere, if I come back to Baltimore, and this is where the enemy gets you at. Here in my mind, I'm thinking if I go back to my hometown, I'm going to do the same thing that I used to do. And granted, if I'm around the same environment that hasn't changed, around the same people who hasn't changed, then yeah, then those temptations are going to come. But here's where the enemy gets you at. Because just because you go to another place don't mean that you're not going to have the same temptations. And I just expressed that with the job that I had. I was in a whole nother state, dealing with the same temptations. Old dog, no new tricks. Same demons. They on the same demon time. Yahweh says, sin rests at your door to Cain, but you do not have to open it. You don't have to open that door. Here we go. Just like Eve. I'm tired of y'all getting on Eve. I'm tired of some of y'all getting on Eve too. Y'all better stop playing with that girl, that woman. That whole matriarch of mankind. Y'all better stop playing with her. Because first of all, respect her. First of all. Second of all, we all have been her. We all have took that apple. So don't be acting like just because you read about it, you wouldn't have did that. You don't know what you would have did in that certain circumstances. We be so quick to judge, but put yourself in that person's shoes. Her shoes, Eve's shoes, somebody else's shoes. We be so quick to say, oh, I wouldn't have never. I wouldn't have did this, I wouldn't have did that. How you know? Sometimes you might know, but for the most part, a lot of the judging be unrighteous and it's hasty. A lot of the judgment be hasty. That's all I'm saying with that. But yeah. I think don't know if I really elaborated a lot that I probably could have elaborated on, but it does feel good to express this to my YouTube channel, because this channel is not just about learning the history of the Torah and Tanakh. It's about mental health. It's about spiritual awareness. It's about spiritual health and wellness, mental health and awareness. I'm big on that because I feel like a lot of the things that we go through, overall, we need that spiritual foundation to have us grounded, to overcome the things that haven't even come our way yet. Because this life is not perfect. We don't live in a perfect world. So we're going to keep going through certain things. My spiritual growth and my personal development, this is not a ultimatum to nobody else, but me personally, my spiritual walk is my foundation in how I move about my life, and it guides me to not only give me discernment and wisdom, but it gives me that strength because of my past experiences, because of the experiences I still get even as Israelite. Just because I pray a little bit more than what I used to and I dress a little bit different doesn't mean I'm not going through what I used to go through. So I'm gonna end it right here and just say that I pray that this message has reached somebody, and if it hasn't reached you, maybe you know somebody that it can reach. So please don't be afraid to share this with anyone. So with that being said, I say Shabbat Shalom. And if you're watching this in the future, Shalom to the people nation land of Israel, to the truth seekers. Welcome to Yahweh's Torah for Hebrew. My name is Deborah for now. Bye.